Sorry, just a second, guys. Well, we've got quite a few people in already. Oscar, hi. Mark, Welsh Piper. Cole, how you doing? Sherlock Piper, welcome aboard. I don't think I've seen you before. Thank you for joining. Adam, a pipe wandering, is about to smoke his new LCS Brightest pipe. And he's got the forerunner of a series which is going to be called Walnut. If you have a look, I don't know if you've done a video yet, Adam, but if you do, at some point, check out the video, because the finish on that worked out so nice. I would have liked to have even kept that pipe, but there we go. Oh my God, Daniel, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's very sad. Yeah, that is a really hard decision. That's a hard thing to have to do. But I think you can rest assured that taking him off, if he passed away pretty much straight away after you took him off the life support, it means he was basically gone, and you don't have to tear yourself apart about it. You know, it doesn't help. How old was he, Daniel? 77. Well, when I say series, what I mean is I'm gonna do that finish and call it the Walnut finish. I'm not referring to a specific series as such. Well, deepest condolences to you, Daniel, and wishing you strength and fortitude. That's what you need. And as I said last time, feel free to get in touch with me, when we're not live. If you want to have a video chat, we can just chat and talk. No problem. I'll do my best to be available for you. Thinking whether or not to pop this tin. This is number 27, Matured Virginia. Hey, Papa Bear. And I'm just wondering whether it's worth popping it, or whether it's going to be similar to Christmas Cheer or 40th Anniversary. I don't want to pop it just for the sake of it. I do have some Christmas Cheer open at the moment. Hey, Andrew. I kind of want to smoke my Parker. I think the first time I smoked it was on London Calling. I think I made this, fitted this stem to it on London Calling. So I kind of like the idea of smoking it from London Calling. 100%, Daniel. Look after yourself. Yeah, definitely a brave thing to do. You know, when you're on your own and you're put in that kind of predicament, the doctor says to you, you know, the time has come, but they need your say so. It's really hard. I mean, even though it's not going to prevent the inevitable, it's still, it rides on you. The fact that you have to take that decision, it's not easy. That's why I was saying to Daniel that ultimately, you know, if he passed pretty much soon after they took him off, then, you know, it's just not much you can do about it, really. Hi Clay, the bamboo pipe that sold straight away. It sold even before I put it on the website. I mean, I still uploaded it on the website just so that people can have a reference of it, but it was sold before it went on. That I struggled with that pipe. I wouldn't say struggled, but I worked on that pipe for 2 days, trying to making sure that I got the 9mm aspect of that pipe to an acceptable level. So it's still something which I need to develop, because I can't even show it to you because I've already sent it off. But the mortise, you know, that's always the question, is when you're dealing with bamboo, trying to drill it is not always easy. To do it without cracking, you know. Sorry about that. I was just dealing with eBay on a return of an item that I bought. Just bear with me a sec. It's a bit of a stretch. So this is Watch City's Old Dominion, which was sent to me by James back in May 21. So I've had it for just over 2 years. Very nice aroma. It's like a chocolatey, but quite smooth. And what I'm going to do on this occasion is I'm going to mix it with a little bit of OGS just to brighten it, because this is a very sort of a very rounded, very smooth blend. Bowl call, nothing for me. I like that one. Just want to lift it a little bit of a citrusy note to add to it. I think it has potential for being a good blend. We will see. Somewhere Black Locust. The Tupelo honey release, yeah. I saw a video released by C&D. I haven't watched it yet. I know Mark's trying to get some, but I'm not going to chase it. If I somehow manage to get a tin, then great, you know. But I'm sure it'll sell out very quickly. Has it been released yet? When's the official release date? Wednesday. Am I right in thinking that it's an aromatic? Oh, it's the same thing with Tupelo honey. Okay. I think it's stretching the concept a little bit, really. Although, no, I mean, I get that each time it's a release, but slightly different. I suppose it does give it some interest, but yeah, I guess shouldn't be too hasty, I guess. But you know what? I've got to give him credit for marketing for sure. Got to recognise that. Banana topping, Adam. The art is pretty good. Okay. I don't know why YouTube still hasn't sorted out this heart button. It's right on the last line of text that comes in on the chat, and it's a pain in the backside. Look, there's the heart, and I can't see the last word always on that line, which is a pain in the neck. I'm surprised that YouTube hasn't sorted that out yet, and it's I haven't watched Roman Piper's latest video yet. I've seen the fact that it's out, but I haven't watched it. So I recently bought a watch on eBay. It was nothing expensive, but literally as I took it out of the box, one of the pins in the bracelet just dropped out. And my floor is full of dust and chippings, so it was a nightmare to find it, but I did find it eventually. And I tried putting it back in. I tried screwing it back in. It was a screw-in type, and it looked like it was okay, but it did keep on turning, but I thought maybe it's okay. Anyway, I turned it upside, tapped it, and it dropped out again. And that's not something that just happens. It was clearly like that, and the guy probably was trying to palm it off onto the next guy. So I sent a return request with an additional contact, because I didn't. A return request can come across as a little bit, why didn't you contact me and tell me about the problem? But if you want to get the return postage, then and a full refund, including the postage, it needs to be via return. So I sent him the return request, but also sent him a separate message telling him that I was doing that, and the reason why I was doing it. And I always like to give the people an out, so as not to create any animosity. And I simply said, it's very possible that this happened before and you haven't worn the watch much and you weren't aware of it, but this is clearly not something which just happens. So I'd like to return it. There was a return option on his sale anyway, but if I return it just because I didn't want it or I didn't like it, then I have to pay the return postage. If I return it because of a problem, then I get my postage refunded and a postage label for the return. So so it was all amicable, and there's no way he didn't know about it, but it's very unlikely. But I like to just give people the benefit of the doubt. And I said, look, I'm sure you weren't aware of it, but this is the case. So he said, would you like a partial refund? So I said, to be honest, it's a problem because I might wear the watch, the pin will drop out and I lose the watch, but send me your offer. It'll have to be a substantial partial refund and I'll think about it. So he said, how about £15? So I said, not even close. I'll pass, thank you very much. Just, if you don't mind, approve the return. And he did. And I've got the label emailed already by eBay, so I'm happy about that. Shame it didn't work out, but it's just the way it is. So I'm smoking the Old Dominion, which is a vapor, and I've added in a little bit of Orlick Golden Sliced. And it's tasting okay, but I think it might be worth mixing a little batch and letting it sit in a jar for a little while, seeing what happens with that. Hey, Hardbox. Bivens Blackpool Friday morning, checking out gear for the workshop. Oh, good. I assume that's a hardware tool shop then. Mark, if you're intending to buy a lathe, maybe get in touch with me and have a little chat about it. Thanks very much, Mark. Appreciate that. Unbelievable. Just been dealing with this eBay return. And I'm suddenly getting a WhatsApp message from the guy. He's obviously done a search on my profile for my phone number. And he's sending me a WhatsApp message. Which is, okay, but it's not necessary. I've told him to just contact me via the eBay app. That's not necessary. Oh, he sent me the return label. Anywho, so this is probably going to improve if I put this in a jar for a while. I might try that as an experiment. I will say that the last few pipes, I agree that they have been a little bit above my, I would say raising the game, if you like, but also it depends on the briar that you're presented with as well. And I've been very lucky with the briar. Well, you did get some through recently, Mark, didn't you? Some cigars? Yeah, Adam, that pipe really, it did come out really well. I'm not even sure if I put it on my website. I'm just having a look. It's not on the new page. I wonder if it's on the estates, no, it's not even on the what's his name page. I'll have to remember to put some pictures up so that people can see that walnut finish. Yeah, Aardvarks, that's the way to go, I reckon. With those, once again, here's the beautiful jar that Mike, Dances with Aardvarks, made. And I reckon the way to go is actually to make them so that the mason jars fit inside. That would look awesome, I think. You can do them in different sizes. You know, you've got the wider ones, the taller ones, you know, whatever. Oh, you've only had one received so far, Mark. Nice retrohale on this. Impromptu bowl call. Low Country Natural Virginia and Burley in a Stanwell authentic bulldog. Well, as stated, this is Orlick Golden Sliced with Old Dominion, with Watch City Cigars Old Dominion. So it's actually two vapors. It's Orlick Golden Sliced, but which is technically a vapor, and Old Dominion, which is a proper vapor. I must admit, it is biting me a little bit. This pipe is not broken in yet properly. And that's even with a filter. London Blend Burley in LCS 772. I've got some very old London Blend. I opened a tin of that from the 1970s, and I've had it for a long time. And that's it's actually quite a nice blend. I'm not into Burleys generally, but I actually quite like that. It'll take you a while to get past those broken ribs. And the Parker, which I'm sure you all remember, with this beautiful, let's see if you can see it. It's got this amazing sandblast. Unbelievable sandblast. You have to excuse my long nails. It's part of tradition when you're in mourning, and not to cut your nails for a while. And that will be until next Thursday. Bermuda. As much as you love me, Cole, I still would rather that the button wasn't there. I got some new stem material in. I managed to get some more of that that rainbow kind of stuff. This one. You guys remember that from the mum's pipes? That one. So I got a few rods of that. What I didn't know is that they actually all come out slightly differently, because the other rod that I had was whatever it was, and this is slightly different. And I got some. I actually got quite a few of them. There's 5 of them, and I got a few of a similar idea, but just different colours, more of a bluey kind of colour. So we got 3 of those. I I got some. This is very similar to the ones that I got for the Crown Series 2, but they're much more heavily on the blue side of things. So I might use these for the next series whenever that might happen. So I'll put these away and keep them for that. How about this one? That's cool. I thought that would be fun. I only bought one rod to see how that works out. Yeah, so the thing is with these on the lathe, these you have to, you don't have to do anything. What I do is I round off the corners before I put them on the lathe. That helps because you've got the square edges, you run the risk of them shattering or splintering. Imagine your tool hitting those sharp square edges. These are really sharp actually, so you run the risk of serious chipping and maybe even breaking. I've got a couple more of these turquoise blocks, and these are really big blocks, which gives you a lot of latitude in terms of if you want to shape something interesting, and that's what I've used here. It's the same material, so I've got a couple more of those. And I bought a purple one as well. I thought that would be interesting. It's got a little bit of a translucence in there as well. And this one is very interesting. I've got to think of a way of making the most out of it. This one is unusual. It's actually got like a glittery kind of content in there as well. It's got like a golden glitter. So looking forward to trying these. I've also got the woods that I got, that whole box of wood offcuts. That egg and spoon pipe that I did, that one was the first pipe that I've used that wood for, which is American oak, which is very nice looking. Check out this block. This is the same oak. Look at that, the grain, the end grain there. But this is a big, hefty. It weighs an absolute ton. I can actually show you some of the blocks. So this is what he called American oak. This is regular oak, whatever that means, but this one is slightly different, and this is the one I used in that pipe. This, he said, is black walnut. A bit of mahogany. Another hefty bit of oak. What I'm planning on doing maybe with one of these, this one's got a crack going right through it, so I'll keep that one. But the bigger one, what I might do is make him something and give it to him as a gift, as a thank you. So I feel I ought to do that. Even though he was happy to give them away, he said he didn't know what to do with them. His workshop is full of offcuts, and he wanted to offload them, but his reasoning for getting rid of them doesn't change the fact that I need to show my gratitude. Another bit of oak. Another bit of oak. Mostly oak, it looks like. Another bit of mahogany. Looks darker than the other bit. Black American walnut. I don't know my woods, I must say. rest of it is pretty much the same. So it's mostly the walnut and the oak, with a few other bits of mahogany. And he said he did have a piece of yew that he wanted to give me, which he said is a beautiful piece of wood. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah, there is a lot of potential. I want to try and use it a little bit more than just on a band, you know, maybe what I would like to learn how to do is to splice wood accurately. So I tried it once on a stem and shank, where you have the wood and stem material all in one, and then when you cut it, it kind of cuts into it and you have a spliced stem with a bit of wood. I'd like to learn how to do that. Yeah, so tampers and that kind of thing. I'm not big on making tampers, I must admit, because I find that it takes up too much of my time for very little return. Actually, speaking of tampers, I was reading the Pipe Collector magazine. I think it was the last issue, not the current issue. And the guy who made the Ming Kahuna tampers, I think it says in there that he passed away. I didn't think he was that old. I don't know about that. I mean, there are certain wood materials, McPhill, that you can make pipes from. And you have to really do your research to make sure that it's safe, because not all woods are safe for use for pipes. These are Ming Kahuna tampers. This tobacco's pretty good. Definitely worth a try to mix this up and maybe jar it for a little bit. Gonna have to give that a go. Yeah, I'm sure there's loads of different accessories that you could make. But I'll be very honest with you, I'm not a skilled woodworker. I did basic woodworking in school, but that was a long time ago. The only jobs that I've had have always been mostly related to real estate, that kind of thing, which is office based or on the road going to properties and stuff like that. And although I've overseen projects like building apartment blocks and that kind of thing, besides for doing DIY around the house, I'm not particularly, like when it comes to cabinet making and that kind of thing, no idea. So I've had a few attempts at making pipe stands and stuff like that for specific pipes. I've done it a couple of times and the results have been reasonable, but it's not something that I've got a particular skill for. And pipes is a specific skill which I taught myself with the help of others, but I've really focused on making pipes and nothing else. So if I was to focus on something else, it would take away from my pipe work, and I'm not looking to become an accessory maker. I'm really focused on making the best pipes that I can make. So on occasion I've made tampers. For instance, I made for the 5-star pipe that Dale Piper has got, I made him a tamper to go with that pipe, and that one turned out beautiful. It's a stunning tamper in my opinion. But like I say, it's not something that for me is worthwhile. So for instance, if I was to make pipes to sell, sorry, not pipes, if I was to make tampers to sell, unless you're really going to become in high demand, there's a limit to how much you can charge for a tamper. But it can still take a couple of hours to make. And so what, you're going to sell it for £15, £20? You know, you can do some and sell them for more. I mean, Eldritch, for instance, does his skull ones, and he sells those for more. I don't know what he sells them for, but I should imagine they're £50, £60, maybe more. I don't know, maybe less. But they're very specific, and he's got a particular skill set in that he works with the material. So for me to start learning how to work with acrylics and pouring stuff, and it's a completely different skill set, which, you know, I mean, he's got that unique sort of USP, and great, and it's good luck to him. You know, everybody has their particular thing that they do, if you like, and I'm just trying to focus on making great pipes, really. She's asking you when you make something useful. Well, I'm assuming you pay the mortgage, Andrew, and I'm not, well, I am making an assumption, I guess. I suppose it's not fair to do that. I don't know if your wife works or not. It depends on whether you have in inverted commas, traditional, you're not allowed to say this nowadays, but a traditional household. Because that's not traditional anymore. Nothing is traditional anymore. She works, but I'm correct, you pay the mortgage. She gets the best of both worlds. I really like Bill Burr's line on feminism when he talks about the pay gap. And he says the feminists complain that men earn more than women, and he explains it. But I'm not saying I support this necessarily. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. That's not important. But he says that yeah, absolutely, men get paid more, because when the Titanic is sinking, and you got people falling off the deck of the boat into the water, who is it that gets onto the lifeboats? It's the women and children. Well, if I have to stay on the boat, I'm going to get $1 an hour more than you, or whatever the difference is. And when it comes to that, when the boat is sinking, the women will soon remember that they're the women and the men are the men. That was his line anyway. I do think that the lines are blurring. A lot more women go out and work than used to be. And I think that's a good thing. I've got no problem with equality. I have no problem with the women earning the same as men. And all types of equality. I've got no problem with that at all. It's just when the madness sets in. But as you say, traditions, I guess. You know, life is very cyclical. And the wheel goes round. So, the one light at the end of any tunnel is that when you're on the cycle of life, you're on the wheel of life, when you're right down at the lowest point and you think it can't get any worse, it can only go up, because when it turns, it goes up. And it goes up and down because the wheel continues to turn. The question is how long that cycle is going to be. It may be hundreds of years, it may be a couple of generations. Got a pretty spicy retrohale on this one. This is the OGS and Old Dominion. Yeah, I mean, you certainly wouldn't want certain parts of history repeating itself. But I think we're talking in terms of attitudes and ways of life, I guess. But I suppose it's attitudes which lead to things happening. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, McPhil. But the thing is that if it's linear, I think it's really important to be, you can still be linear, but with an eye on the rear view mirror. I think that's really important for a number of reasons. You've got to have an eye on the rear view mirror simply in order to understand ways of life, to continue traditions, if you're into that. You need to be able to see where you came from, to see the examples set by previous generations. Not always good. So if it's not a good example set, you learn from that so as not to repeat it. And if it is a good example set, you learn from that to repeat it. I can't read that stupid last comment. Rather, I can't read that comment because of this stupid heart icon. In Hinduism, we are something or other called Kali Yuga, or the end of a cycle. I can't fully read it until somebody else says something. I'm just gonna do that so I can read it. Another comment, thank you. In Hinduism, we are in a Kali Yuga, or the end of a cycle. How long is each cycle, Mike? I need to try this blend in a different pipe, because this pipe is not fully broken in, nowhere near. So I'm not sure, because I'm getting a bit of tongue bite. It's not terrible. I mean, I'm just taking it slow. But the flavors, I'm also feeling a little bit. Now they were okay at the beginning, and now it's not so good. Well, I hear that, Adam, but no man is an island. Of course, you gotta care most about what happens under your own roof. That's very true. But if you want to maintain what's happening inside your house, you've got to have an eye on what's going on outside as well. You can disable the heart in YouTube Studio. Okay. Another comment. Good one. Oh, interesting comment. Now I'm just looking at a comment I got on the bamboo pipe that I just made, which I had amazing comments for, a lot of support, and in fact, as I said, it sold before I even managed to upload it. So I'm not really that bothered, but I got a guy who's commented and says, I don't know if you remember, on that pipe there was, because of the way it was drilled and because of the, when you have bamboo, you have these grooves which can go quite deep. So on one of the knuckles there is one part where it's shaved off right on the inside edge of one of those grooves, so you can actually see the stainless steel tube through it. That obviously wasn't intended, and I said that in the video, this wasn't intended, but I actually quite like the look. So he's written, pretty sloppy, you didn't care to address the hole in the bamboo. I can't think of a single other carver who would try to pass an imperfection such as this off as a design feature. It's downright lazy. So I've responded that I didn't try to pass it off as a design feature. I actually said in the video that it wasn't intended, but I just happened to like it nonetheless. And I felt that his comment was more rooted in negativity than anything else. I get those every so often, and you could even criticize it, but it's just the tone of the message, which you can see the guy's just trying to rip me down. That, that's par for the course on YouTube. If you can't be thick-skinned enough on YouTube, then there's no point putting yourself out there. I mean, the whole thing is stupid. The whole basis of his comment is stupid, because to say that it's lazy, I spent 2 days on that pipe, so laziness doesn't even come into it. You can argue that he considers it to be an imperfection, and therefore as a pipe maker I should not allow that to go out as an okay pipe. That's his opinion. That's fine. You can make that opinion, and I'm happy for you to do that. But when the tone of your message is you're lazy and you're sloppy. You can see that the person is just trying to be negative, and he's just trying to be a troll essentially. To give you an example of the perfect comment of somebody who disagrees with something that you're doing, but still respects the fact that you're entitled to do as you see fit. So you remember a long while ago, I still have this beautiful Castello pipe, and I went ahead and converted this to 9mm. Castello won't do a 9mm pipe. No, he didn't buy the pipe. So I converted this to 9mm, and now some people would consider that to be sacrilege. To take a Castello pipe and to play around with it and mess around with it, some people would consider that to be sacrilege. But my yeah, I'm going to sleep over the comment. You're right, Cole. My philosophy is that a pipe is there to be enjoyed, and some people are purists. It depends on the type of collector that you are. If you're a collector and you're a purist and everything has to be pure, then yeah, I would agree, then you wouldn't be messing around with a pipe. But I don't collect pipes that way. I collect pipes that I want to smoke, and that smoke well, and that I want to enjoy. But nevertheless, so this guy comments like this: naturally, everybody can do what they think best with their own pipes. But let me tell you, sir, I have met many pipe enthusiasts here in Italy, people who worship the various most famous brands in the world. Honestly, I miss this. Seeing the tenon of a Castello being drilled, seeing it crack, hearing you plan a further enlargement of the tenon to house a 9mm filter. Well, yes, I miss this one. If you're happy like this, then good for you. So there's been a bit of lost in translation. Presumably the guy is Italian. But the message is clear. In other words, it's not something that he would ever do, but if it works for you, then good. That's a fair comment, you know. Yeah, it's funny you should say that, Andrew, because I was actually reading his book, or rereading his book the other day, and I was reading that part where he had this various debates with people about whether you mess around with the pipe or not, whether it's sacrilege or not. He's just Italian, right? No, he's being quite polite actually, and that's fine. You know, I actually enjoy that kind of feedback. You know, that's the best feedback to get, because if you know, I watch some other new pipe makers out there, and you'll see people trying to encourage them, and that's great. It's really important to encourage new pipe makers, but sometimes they'll put out a pipe which is, you know, it's just not a pipe that. It really depends on where the person is in their journey. So for instance, if they're really early on and they put out a pipe which you would not consider to be a worthy pipe, you'd still encourage them because they're on the beginning of their journey, so you wouldn't expect it to be any different. But where some pipe makers who have been at it for a few years and their pipes are just not that great, they're okay, and you still want to encourage them, but they're just not great. And you see some people just putting out these, oh, that's an amazing pipe, it's the best pipe I've ever seen in the world, and it's fantastic. It's not always a good thing to do. It's not always the best, most generous way to respond to such a pipe, you know. So oftentimes what I will do is I will try it at least once, and if it's not reciprocated, then I won't do it again. But there are some pipe makers who I've sent messages to privately. I wouldn't do it publicly, but I would say to them that nice pipe, I can see the progress in your work, but you know, these are areas you could tighten up on, and you know, this is what you can do, and you know, here's what you can, you know, giving constructive criticism. I've had my fair share of negative criticism, and I've spoken about this before, where people just want to pull you down, especially other pipe makers, where they'll just criticize you for the sake of criticizing, but they won't help you out in how to deal with the issues. And that's where I've always had the highest praise for somebody like Phil Rivara, and a couple of other guys who were always happy to help. So it's not just criticizing, but they were saying, this is what's wrong with it, and this is what you need to do to fix it, that kind of thing. So I've offered a few pipe makers. Adam is a case in point, a pipe wandering, and he's very receptive to my advice. He doesn't have to be, it's his choice. And I'm not saying I'm the biggest expert in the world when it comes to pipe making. I'm pretty early on myself, but there have been some who I've offered that advice and it's just been ignored, and that's fine. You know, I'm okay with that. I'm just trying to help. If you don't want, that's fine. You know, you may not consider me to be help worthy, and that's fine. So no problem. I won't offer it again. But constructive criticism is very important. It's part of the journey. It's how you're going to improve, how you're going to make yourself better if you don't know where you're going wrong. So I think that's very important. Hiding imperfections is what any pipe maker does. The question is whether they're hiding an imperfection which shouldn't be hidden. Any rusticated pipe, any sandblasted pipe, I'm not saying nowadays every pipe would be like that, but in the beginning certainly, the purpose of rusticating a pipe It wasn't always for the sake of rusticating it for design purposes. And now, for instance, a pipe like this, it may well have had an imperfection, which is why they sandblasted it, but you could see the merit in sandblasting it for the sake of sandblasting it. It has its own merits. Certain rustications, if they're attractive, have their own merits, but certainly originally, and very much so nowadays as well, it's to hide imperfections. So when you've got a sand pit or a gash or something like that on the outside of the pipe, as long as it's not affecting the smoke of the pipe, you could hide it with a rustication. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're not hiding something which shouldn't be hidden. And like you say, there's very little that I can hide because most of my process is out there. You can see it. I have almost been close to buying a primer pipe. I have seen them on eBay quite a bit, but I stopped looking at them. But they are nice pipes. I would agree with you on that. I think now they're probably more expensive than when I was looking at them. When I was looking at them, they were, I think, around $150, that kind of thing. Are they closer now to 200 or 300, or are they still around 150? Yeah, so that's why I didn't really carry on. It's just out of my league price-wise. If I'm buying a new pipe, occasionally I'll spend that kind of money. So it's not to say I wouldn't buy one, but usually it would be a commission if I was spending that kind of money. I've actually just commissioned a new pipe from Northern Briars, from Ian Walker, so I'm looking forward to getting that. It's not often that I commission pipes nowadays, I must be honest. I have enough pipes, really. I think we all do. There was a comment. I think his pricing is very good. It's trickling up a little bit now, but it's still very, very good value for money. Good night, Mike. Have a good one. Wish you better with those ribs. What was I reading the other day? Which is a very good point. Is that when you get past a certain amount, you have some collectors who have hundreds and hundreds of pipes, or even thousands of pipes. But if you ask them how many pipes have you got, they'll always be around 200 pipes or something like that. So they're trying to tell you that they've got a lot of pipes, but they don't really want to tell you how many. So if they say 50, then okay, 50 pipes is not a great deal. But once you start telling somebody you've got around 200, then it's still a lot of pipes. Oh, Adam. I still don't know. That's the hardest thing any pipe maker will tell you, is how to price themselves. Really, really, really difficult. I think when I first started, I actually was quite lucky. I started what I considered to have been quite high at that point. I think I started around £90. The difficulty is that nobody can really tell you what you should charge for your pipes, because at the end of the day, you need to gauge it. And as long as somebody's prepared to pay your price, then good. There's no set thing. I had a lot of trouble here in the UK because my pipes were more expensive than some pipe makers who have been making pipes for decades, and I got a lot of grief over that. And I mean, there is a difference between my pipes and their pipes. It's not this. I'm not trying to say that mine were better than theirs or anything like that, or that I've got more skill than them. I'm not saying that at all. I'm pretty sure they've got more skill than I have. But the design of the pipes and the fact that they were 9mm and still looking like nice pipes, they were different, on a different level. And nobody can really tell you what you should charge for your pipes. I've seen some pipe makers very early on into pipe making already charging £120, which surprised me, but their pipes are selling, so that's good. It's really whatever you can get for them. There's no real set thing. If you look at the other scale, the end of the scale, where people are charging thousands, it's the same problem. It's the same issue. It's what people are prepared to pay. Is their pipe worth £5,000 more than mine? Is the additional skill that they're putting into their pipe worth another £5,000, or is it their reputation or their branding, their name that has gone into stratospheric levels? It is hard, Wretched. It is hard. Why don't cigars give tongue bites? Well, Mike had this discussion a while back, and he was trying to say that you don't need to resort to filters. It's just about how you smoke, how you prepare the tobacco, about how well your pipe is broken, and there's lots of different contributory factors into why you get tongue bite. But certainly one of them is your own makeup, your mouth, the sensitivity of your mouth. That's certainly an issue. It's not the only issue, but it's certainly an issue. So the argument being made was that a cigar doesn't give you tongue bite, so therefore it's not the tobacco, but how you're smoking it, and maybe how you're preparing it in the pipe. I don't know what the argument is, because ultimately, if it's not the tobacco, then it's not your cadence, because your cadence is going to be similar, I assume. So it's not how you're smoking it. So what else is left? It's the pipe, and it's how you're loading the bowl. That's it. What else can it be? So for me, I don't know the reason. It could be it's the way it condenses in the pipe. You know, you get humidity in the pipe, and maybe there's some fluid build up in the pipe. I actually don't know the answer to that question, but it is an interesting question. Yeah, Andy. Yeah, could be. I mean, it could be that if I was to buy a £1,000 pipe and smoke it without a filter, and I don't get tongue bite, that would answer some of the questions for me. I think it's unlikely, but good evening, Sam. So the argument is that when you're making a pipe, is to make the journey of the smoke from the bowl through to your mouth as smooth as possible, with little or no hindrance along the way. Any other undulations or edges or sharp edges or differences in thickness and diameter of draft holes is all going to create turbulence, and that turbulence is going to create humidity and therefore tongue bite. Ask Rich. Why does he get? I'm assuming he doesn't get tongue bite, but he smokes all different types of pipes. I mean, he smokes plenty of Castello pipes, and they're not. I mean, some of them are £1,000, but they're not what you would call, you know, the Everson style or S-Bang or Bonord kind of level. Oh, £1,000 pipe. He's still going strong, and he must be in his 70s by now. What I do find sad is that in a lot of these publications you see obituaries for people that have passed who are in the pipe hobby, and his generation is kind of slowly dying out, and you know there's so much knowledge going with them, but not only that, huge collections of pipes which are just getting sold off, and you kind of think to yourself that in a way, okay, so they've derived enjoyment from it throughout their lives, that's true, but what happens at the end, you know, if they're lucky enough that it doesn't get chucked into the bin by an unknowing wife, you know, somebody that they've perhaps hidden their hobby from, or at least the extent of their hobby from, because they thought they would get it in the neck from their wife, or the value, at least how much money they've spent on their pipes, is hidden from their wife, maybe. So at least they've had enjoyment in their lives, but I shudder to think about what happens to some of these collections. I think if they're sensible, then they would have a plan. I've often thought of cataloguing my pipes and putting a value on them, and you know, maybe making a spreadsheet and letting my kids know about it. It's the same with the tobaccos. Not so much that it'll make a difference to me once I'm gone, but at least they should get value out of it, you know. I was reading Pipe Dreams from, what's his name, Rick, let's see, I'm just coming, my brain's not working. Anyway, can't remember. Yeah, so the hacker books, just buy one, because they're all the same. There's some slight variations, but they're all the same. I've found out the hard way. I've got 2 or 3 of them, and they're essentially very, very similar. It's not worth buying each of the books. Rick Newcomb is who I was talking about. When you're trying to think of a name and it just doesn't come, you just need to forget about it and talk about something else, and it just pops into your head. When you relax, you let your mind just do it on its own in the background. Yes, Andrew, Rick Newcomb. You do see Sixton pipes actually come up. I have seen them come up on the Danish pipe shop. But I think that actually Lars Everson pipes go for more money than Sixton pipes, unless it's an exceptional Sixton pipe. But if you go back to his, they're very, even though he broke new ground, but they are, but nowadays they're considered as quite traditional. But I think Lars Everson pipes go for more, and certainly Bonord pipes go for more. And the S-Bang pipes are starting to creep up because they've stopped making pipes now, they've retired. The audiobook, okay. Which one? Of the original book or of the second one? Still searching. So how does that work? If I buy that on Amazon, what is that? A downloadable audio file? What is that? How do I listen to it? Coming to the end of the bowl. It's actually tasting quite good now as well, again. It's what I must say, it is quite full, quite, I wouldn't say powerful, but it's quite full in the mouth. This mix of Orly Golden Sliced and Old Dominion. It's quite rich. You used Audible. That's an app, is it? I have seen that, the ads on YouTube for Audible. Right, so that's just an app, right? Audible, yeah. Yeah. I might do that. Having paid for both books, I have both books in print. You think it's worth paying for them again? For those little extras? I don't know how much it costs, but let's have a look at Amazon. Audible. $17.30. Oh no, that's the paperback version. Audible sample.
Put that in your pipe. The end of the last century saw the birth of two Germans who will be famous for eternity. Adolf Hitler, the bloodthirsty dictator, and Albert Einstein, the peace-loving genius scientist. Both men held strong views on the subject of smoking, and it is worth examining their opinions as we approach the end of the current century. Remember, this was written in 1994.
There's a 4-minute
This is
sample.
especially true because there are proposals in Congress to ban smoking in the workplace, to raise tobacco taxes by astronomical percentages, and to have the federal government regulate tobacco as a drug. Hitler was a zealot about many things, so it is not surprising to discover that he was an extremist on the subject of smoking. He was a militant anti-smoker. He regarded smoking as vile and disgusting. According to Time magazine, Adolf Hitler was a fanatical opponent of tobacco. He was fond of proclaiming that women of the Third Reich did not smoke at all, even though many of them did. Richard Klein, a professor of French literature at Cornell University, in his fascinating book, Cigarettes Are Sublime, wrote that Hitler was, quote, a fanatically superstitious hater of tobacco smoke, unquote. Einstein, on the other hand, was very passionate about his pipe smoking. According to the Ultimate Pipe book, during one lecture, Einstein ran out of pipe tobacco and borrowed some cigarettes from his students so he could crumple the tobacco into his pipe. Gentlemen, he said, I believe we've made a great discovery. But later he decided that his conclusion was premature. He learned firsthand that cigarette tobacco is quite different from pipe tobacco. It lacks the aroma, the fullness, and the taste of pipe tobacco. However, what appealed most to the great scientist was the entire ritual, carefully choosing from a variety of pipes and tobaccos, delicately loading the briar, puffing and tamping, and the associated contemplation. He said pipe smoking helped him relax and gain perspective. I believe that pipe smoking contributes to a somewhat calm and objective judgment in all human affairs, he said in 1950 at age 71 when he became a lifetime member of the Montreal Pipe Smokers Club. I offered this contrast between Hitler, the militant anti-smoker, and Einstein, the moderate pipe smoker, for two reasons. First, to encourage the crusading anti-smokers in America to become a little more tolerant, and second, to encourage cigarette smokers to take up moderate pipe smoking of 1 to 3 bowls a day as a relaxing and healthier alternative. The current political pressure to ban all smoking from the workplace, even from designated smoking areas, is symptomatic of an attitude in our society that is distressing to those of us who value freedom. This attitude degenerates into a movement to prohibit for everyone what some of us don't like. If you're in a minority and the majority wants to pass a law against you, God help you. The majority will do it. Even a few scientists will attempt to prove whatever it is they want to prove, regardless of the evidence. A good example is the fact that many scientists have questioned the Environmental Protection Agency's conclusions about secondhand smoke. Going back to our Hitler-Einstein comparison, it is easy to see that fanatical intolerance, as opposed to moderation and consideration, are at the heart of the smoking debate in America today. I am speaking out as a private citizen because I'm a successful entrepreneur who is responsible for sending millions of tax dollars to the state and federal governments each year. From my own taxes, from my company, from our shareholders, from our employees, from our clients, and from our vendors. It is frustrating beyond belief to know that my tax money finances politicians seeking to pass laws banning me from smoking a pipe in my own office. My congressman is proposing what he calls the Smoke-Free Environment Act, which would prohibit smoking in any public facility. By public facility, he means not just government buildings, but any building that is entered by 10 or more people at least 1 day per week, except residences this time. But what if the building is privately owned and its owner wants to smoke? Too bad. His private building will be classified as a public facility. The Secretary of Labor has threatened to use the Occupational Safety and Health Administration to support a ban on smoking in the workplace.
I think that's the end of the sample. Let's see if we can get a sample on Still Searching for Pipe Dreams. Still Searching for Pipe Dreams. Here's a sample.
There is a brilliant pipe maker in Japan named Kei Goto. Along with the legendary Tokutomi and several others, Kei Goto is considered one of the best pipe sculptors of all time. And I particularly like him because he paid me the most peculiar compliment when we first met. It was at the Chicago Pipe Show a few years ago, and he was with other Japanese pipe makers, several of whom were dressed in traditional black kimonos with tabi socks and woven slippers, their long hair tied in a bun. After we were introduced, Kei Goto bowed and said, "Ah, Mr. Newcomb, it is such an honor to meet you. I love your book. It is on my nightstand, and you put me to sleep every night. Well, I hope I won't put you to sleep with my reflections on pipe smoking, past, present, and future. I want to explore the issue of why any of us would still smoke a pipe in the 21st century when it is viewed as such an unusual thing to do, to say the least. There are even some people who regard it as dangerous and irresponsible, and if they had their way, it would be classified as a criminal activity. At best, society views pipe smoking today as a hopelessly eccentric and out-of-date pastime, completely at odds with modern manners, opinion, and decorum. It wasn't always this way. In fact, pipe smoking has been popular for many centuries. In the United States, our country has its roots in tobacco. George Washington was a tobacco farmer, and John Adams a pipe smoker. During the American Civil War of the 1860s, soldiers on both sides were frequently photographed with pipes in their mouths. Our earliest images of Santa Claus showed a jolly man with a clay pipe. During the Roaring '20s, most college men and their professors were pipe smokers. Then came the Great Depression of the 1930s, when the pipe was the poor man's way to smoke because you only need one or two inexpensive pipes to smoke, and pipe tobacco lasts a long time. Following World War II, the pipe was pictured with television and movie fathers in one show after another, including with Spencer Tracy in the original movie version of Father of the Bride. It is not surprising that the Washington Post once called pipe smoke the aroma of fatherhood. Norman Rockwell, a lifetime pipe smoker, was arguably the most popular American artist and illustrator of the 20th century, and his 322 cover paintings for the Saturday Evening Post have become legendary. One of his most famous paintings is his triple self-portrait, in which he is studying his face in a mirror and showing us the canvas on which he is painting, while we see the whole picture as if we were standing behind the artist. In the portrait on the canvas, Rockwell took off his glasses and smoothed out a few wrinkles on his face, but he kept his pipe firmly in his mouth. In his idealized vision of himself, where he shows the face he wants the world to see, he is clearly a proud pipe smoker. I became a full-fledged pipe smoker in 1978, but I was dabbling with a pipe a couple of years before that, trying to give up cigarettes. But at the time I was experimenting in 1976, the President of the United States, Gerald Ford, was rarely pictured without his pipe. The fact that he lived to be 93, longer than any other president in history, says a great deal about the relaxing benefits of moderate pipe smoking. But throughout the 1980s, 90s, and to today, the message has been that all smoking is bad. The commercials started by saying it is unhealthy and ended by portraying it as pure evil. The rationale for this propaganda blitz was the very real damage caused by heavy cigarette smoking. But moderate cigar and pipe smoking were bundled with cigarettes as if they were all the same. The result is that all things tobacco have been condemned. Smokers have been ostracized. They have been demonized. They are today's lepers. It is difficult in most places to smoke at work, or in a restaurant, or even in a bar. Smoking on an airplane, are you crazy?
There we go. I wonder if he's got another book in him yet. I mean, his main the thrust of his book, both books, is about his theory that you need to open up pipes, the draft hole on pipes, to make them wider, and about smoking in moderation, and the Danish high graders. But to be honest, he also does present quite a few of the American pipe makers as well. So, but the interesting thing about him, although he's seen as the person who brought the Danish pipes into the rest of the Western world, so to speak. He has a very eclectic collection. I mean, he has pipes from all sorts of pipe makers. He's got Petersons, he's got Dunhills, he's got Costellos, Escortis, and some of the historic American pipe makers, which, you know, he picked up for $20-$30, you know, estate pipes, which he's had sort of cleaned up and that. So he's not a particular, I don't think you could call him a pipe snob. But he does have an unbelievable collection of pipes. And the value of his collection must be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he's got a lot of bone gnawed pipes. Howdy, pipes of old. He's got a lot of bone gnawed pipes, a lot of Lars Iversen pipes, Sixten Iversen pipes, yes, Chonovitz pipes, S-Bang pipes. I mean, he's got them all. And not just one or two. You know, he's probably got 20 or 30 of each of them. Just thinking about this block which I showed before, and the way the patterning is going, I think that it's such a big block, but to make the most of the pattern, I think I'd only get one, maybe two stems out of it. Let me see if it's how wide it is. If it's 14 mil and I can cut it accurately, I might get, it's 36.8 mil. So if I did 18 mil, I could cut that and get 4 rods out of it, but my bandsaw is probably not accurate enough for that. And if I was to make short stems, I could probably get maybe 8 stems out of it if I was able to cut it accurately. That's right, yeah, I've read that Bertrand Russell credits smoking a pipe as saving his life. Because he had to sit at the back of the plane, and the back of the plane somehow survived. So, yeah. So going back to your question, Andrew, about the difference between cigars and pipes as to why you don't get tongue bite with cigars and you do with pipes. First of all, I would say that you can get tongue bite with cigars. You'd have to really go at it, hammer and tongs, to do that, but you can get bitten with cigars. It's definitely got to do with the moisture and sugar content, but I think moisture more than anything else. Because, you know, if you think about it, when you smoke a new pipe, all right, Rudiger Will, haven't heard of him before. He's got a bunch of tobacco on there which hasn't been sold. A bunch of McClellan's. Guys, jump on it. Frogmorton, McCraney's, Frogmorton Cellar for $85. That's a great price. 100-gram tin. 40th anniversary for $100. That's a great price. Alright, most of the other stuff has sold out now, but there's still some left if anybody's interested. Vintage Syrian. Pipe stud. Pipestud.com. Dunhill Murray's Era standard mixture mild, $100, 50-gram tins. Okay, I mean you're paying for the age there. You're talking about 20 odd years old. Dark Twist, 2008, $55. That's a good price. $60 to the. You need to get him to send it to somebody in the US, or just get somebody else to buy it for you. There's no point buying it straight from the UK. I would agree with you on that. But Adam, if you're still on, he's got a 100-gram tin of Burley London Blend McBaron's from 2011 for $45. I'd grab that if you like that. He's got some good tobaccos. His prices are very fair, I have to say. His prices are very fair. If you do buy something, Adam, 2005 Orlick, where are you seeing that? If anybody is going to buy something on there, you can grab me a tin of Frogmorton Cellar. I'd appreciate that, and I'll send you the money. There's a tin of aged Burley Flake from 2010, 13 years age, $35. That's a great grab if somebody likes that. A lot of people love that tobacco. I don't really look at this site that much anymore because I can't buy it from the UK. It just doesn't work. It's too much hassle. Mature Virginia he had as well. Oh, you're right, the Frogmorton Cellar's out of stock. He hasn't updated it. So maybe it's all out of stock and I've been premature about this. Hang on. Yeah, it looks like it's all out of stock. Sorry guys. Yeah, out of stock. 40th anniversary. Alright, 40th anniversary is still in stock. It's 7 tins. It's $100. I'm not buying that. I've got a couple of tins still. On the town, it's sold. You're right, Andrew. Aged Birdie Flake, 6 tins in stock. I think that's a grab. If you like Aged Birdie Flake, you should go for that. That's good stuff. Although I'm not a birdie fan, but it's very highly rated. I will say that. Alright, so there's not much left actually. 3 Oak Syrian out of stock. 40th anniversary was 2017. It was their last. It says year 2018, but I think it was produced at the end of 2017, and that was their swan song. It was their last sort of major release. They did a 2017 Christmas cheer, and that was it. And the 40th anniversary was their final sort of new release before they closed shop. 395 for Penzance. What, on pipe stud? No, surely not. $380 for 2020. Wow. 2018 $390. 2015 bag $395. Stonehaven, how much did that go for? $395 for 2015. Alright guys, I need to grab my gold bags. Let me see what I've got. I haven't looked at them for yonks. Oh, it's a bit tucked away. Oh. What is this? 515 RC. That's the pound bag that Art sent me. This is my meager offering of gold bags. '17 Ramsgate. '21 Rich Dark Flake. I think I've got a couple of these. It's 2016 Penzance. I think that's the only one I've got of Penzance. 2021 Special Etiquette Flake, but these are 500 gram, not 250. These are half a kilo. These are the bigger, the British ones. Another Rich Dark Flake. No, that's not another one. That is Rich Dark Flake. I haven't shown one of those yet. For 2021. That's a 500 gram bag. And that's a 500 gram bag of 1820 Flake from 21. And Margate from 2015. I think I actually might have some more Rich Dark Flake in one of the boxes. The Penzance though, that from 2016, that's probably going to be worth $300 odd. I have a couple of the small old oblong tins as well. Alright, so yeah, that's 2 bags of Rich Dark Flake. Yeah. Freeborgen Tray blended plug, cut blended plug, good Virginia blend. I don't know. I do have a couple of Freeborgen Tray tins in my cellar somewhere, but I don't smoke it really, so I don't really know. I think it's quite well regarded. In Italy they sell quite a bit of it. I saw that in the shops there. And they had a fair bit of Orlik, but not Orlik Golden Slice. They had the other versions of Orlik. They had a Balkan blend, which you don't see very often online, and a couple of other different blends from Orlik. But I didn't see the Orlik Golden Slice there. Otherwise, I would have bought it. This bowl is pretty much done. Yep, that was it. Smoked right down to the heel. And that was pretty good. A little bit of tongue bite, which being that the pipe wasn't broken in, maybe there's still moisture in the pipe. Difficult to say why it gives a little bit of tongue bite. I must tell you that the pipe that I bought in Italy, the Talamona one, I get a lot of tongue bite from that pipe. It's still in the process of being broken in. And I've been smoking, it's a really, really nice pipe, lots of beautiful grain on it, but it does give me tongue bite. The drill is a bit high. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it. Maybe there's some moisture gathering at the bottom there. But I've started smoking a vanilla roll cake in it, which is better than Orlik Golden Sliced, but still bitey. I have got a new tin of vanilla roll cake on my table because I've run out. My actual jar's empty now, so I do need to crack that tin at some point. But anyway, I think that's going to be it for tonight. Unless anybody's got anything else that they want to ask, now's the time. Otherwise, I'm going to start going through my thank yous. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Andrew, Andy, Andres Rigliano, Dave Falbo. Hi. Didn't see you come in there. Welcome aboard. Mark Welsh Piper, if you're still there. Pipes of Old. Patrick Grant, McPhil. Cole, Big Country Briar. And everybody else, thank you very much. Have a good night. I'll catch you on the next one.